Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
Nice and cool this morning.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's going to rain or something.
Yeah.
There was a slight chill or a dip this morning that was happening.
Yeah, and then it might have been just me, but this morning was a bit dark. So, I was thinking, is this rain clouds? I don't know what's going on.
No.
I almost didn't believe my clock. I'm like, no, it's not 5.
Nope, it's still dark in the morning, and well, the sun is out now, starting to mostly. But of course, it is a Thursday morning. We are about to close off January. Can you believe that?
I know, but I've been seeing lots of people talking, lots of memes talking about how this January has been so long.
Yes.
And so much and it's been so eventful too.
Yeah. It absolutely has. I think not just for us, and we've had quite a bit going on in this January, but across the world. There's just a whole lot of things happening in 1 month alone.
For sure.
But nonetheless, we are, of course, going to get you ready for your day. We have some great conversations lined up. And speaking of the weather, I believe we're going to go ahead and read the prepared forecast for this morning. And so that general situation is for mainly fair weather to prevail. The 24-hour forecast.
So for the next 24 hours, we are looking at mostly sunny skies today, and there's going to be some partly cloudy skies tonight. Only isolated showers are expected.
Okay. So our winds are going to be moving from the east at 5 to 15 knots, and that makes for a light chop at sea. While our high temperatures?
So over the coast today, we're looking at a high of 84 degrees. And inland, we are seeing a high of 88 degrees. And up in the hills, we have 76 degrees as our high temperature for today. And the lows are going to be 78 over the coast, 72 inland, and nice and cool at 66 degrees up in the hills.
And for the extended forecast, the outlook for Friday is for mainly fair and warm weather, followed by an increase in showers and possible isolated thunderstorms late Friday night into Saturday morning as that cold front approaches the country.
There you go.
Contain your excitement, Gavin.
I know, right?
Oh, sorry, that's me.
No, I'm super excited. I like to hear it, especially on a weekend when you can sleep in. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we'll get more details about that for sure tomorrow. We'll find out if it's going to be one of those wet cold fronts, or we're just going to get the cool temperatures.
Yeah.
All right, and we're going to keep things moving now in looking at a bit of motivation for this morning. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Looking at only one side of our life can make us blind to the many other ways of looking at our situation. Whenever we examine our lives, we examine them from a particular side or angle. Most of us tend to favor one side over the others. For example, we may tend to look at things from an emotional perspective rather than a financial perspective. Or we may prefer to think in terms of details rather than the big picture, or vice versa. To a certain degree, this is not a problem, and these tendencies add color to our individual personalities. However, they can also make us one-sided, blind to the many other ways of looking at our situation. Even if we have decided that we are most happy when we focus on one particular side of things, it is always worth exploring the other sides. When we do, we become well-rounded, more understanding of other viewpoints, and even more solid in our own. When we look at our lives from all sides, we shed light on the big picture, giving ourselves access to many points of view and highlighting more clearly the one we have chosen to take.
It's an interesting message. And it's one that I try to put into practice too. I definitely try to look at things from different angles, try to make sure that I cover all my bases and, sometimes, think outside of the box, a lot of the times when we're like making decisions or we're making judgments about things, obviously a lot of it's going to be based on our own experience. So we have, some natural biases, but it always helps to try to think of something from a new perspective or get another opinion. Yeah. I definitely, that message resonates with me a lot.
And I find it's true. And I think that it really becomes most helpful when you are unhappy with the perspective you have. Because, you can see a problem in one way only. You can create your judgments as to why things happened, why things didn't happen, how people contributed to it. But it makes such a difference when you are able to reframe how you see it and look at it from a completely different side. This is, of course, where sometimes empathy is important, understanding how somebody else feels. Sometimes it's important to pay attention to your very own biases, why you want to see it this way, and just shifting that focus, if only for a little. It doesn't always change what you think, but it does kind of put the entire picture into better focus.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of have to do this, in terms of like my, life outside the show when I'm at
your day job.
Yeah. So when so like, as a lawyer, especially doing litigation, you have to think about what the other side's going to say. And then when you think about that, you also, you're putting, your side forward in the best way possible, trying to anticipate what can come from the other side. So you have to you have to put the shoe on the other foot and get thinking that way. And then you have to again try to think about, you have a third party who's going to be the judge or the magistrate or whoever. So you have to consider their perspective as well. So it's a lot that I guess it's that I'm used to kind of doing, but putting it into practice in other areas of life tends to be a bit more difficult just because, of how we are, how we view things just based on our experience. Yeah.
And how much we love holding on to those beliefs.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so that's a great eye-opener for this morning. We really hope that it perhaps helps you with whatever issue you may be battling today or this week. And just, take a moment, see if you can see things from a different point of view and see how that changes your perspective on what you're challenged with. Right. So speaking of that, it is time, I believe, for our morning tea. Yeah. So morning tea, of course, is the opportunity when we get to just start up a bit of conversation, get people at home to chime in, see how they feel about an issue. And this morning, we are going to ask, let me get this here, which is more important, your character or reputation? What was that chuckle?
No, because I was thinking about this question, when of course we got it. Of course, I think character.
Deep, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely deep because you automatically want to say character is the most important, but like also, which I do think is true, is the more important one. But I mean, you can't also deny that your reputation and people, the way people see you also is important. I know that a lot of people say that they don't care what people think or whatever, but at the end of the day, other people's perception of you, it influences a lot in how you're treated. Yeah, in real life, how you're treated, how you're looking. So your reputation does count for something, and I do think that on some level, people are still conscious of it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the way I understand that question, I think character and being true to yourself and all of that is more important than trying to build a reputation based only on what you think other people want to think of you.
So you see, I see this from a completely different perspective. Just in terms of when I look at the question, I see there's one that I can control and there's one that I can't. So for me, the one that I can control is perhaps more important because it means that I can change if there's something that I don't like, your characteristics, your traits, the things you routinely do and believe and engage in. These are all things that sometimes are shaped from how we grow up and influence and education and, you know, all the other factors in our life. I thought of that song, what is it? Bad Character. But you know, so you know these things about you. Sometimes it shapes the reputation that you have. So if you're known to be a really nasty person, you probably have a bad reputation. If you are mean or spiteful or, you know, just hurt people in any way, you have a bad reputation. But it goes more towards the actions that you're guided by, which really comes from the characteristics. So I definitely think that's more important. Your reputation does hold weight, absolutely, but it does change. You know, you can have a bad reputation at one point in your life and make changes in yourself, in those very same characteristics, and shift the perspective that people may have of you.
For sure. And then I also think that one of the issues with focusing a lot on your reputation is that when you think about things that way, you're almost like forcing yourself to consider people pleasing, and also you're thinking about what other people's ideas of you or perceptions of you might be, and so many times we're wrong about that. I know we discussed that on one of our eye openers a few weeks ago, talking about like how a lot of what we think other people think about us just might be us projecting, or it might be completely inaccurate, and you know, people think that, you know, that you may think that you've done something that's offended somebody else, but other people, they don't care, they don't something. So when you get into talking about your reputation and stuff and trying to people please, I mean, it might be based on a whole lot of inaccurate thoughts. So it's better to focus.
And it's based a lot on where they are too.
Exactly.
Like the person who creates whatever reputation that you don't like.
So so like, it goes back to what you said. If you focus on your character and the things that are true to you, I mean, what things that you are able to control, then I find that, you know, the reputation and stuff tends to follow, you know. You tend to find the path or get surrounded by the things that sort of aid you in building that character that you're trying to do for yourself, rather than trying to focus only on other people's thoughts. I find it a lot, especially now that we have social media has influenced that us so much.
Oh my gosh.
So that people are constantly kind of like aware of what other people are thinking or saying and stuff about them. So I think nowadays that it's an important conversation to have.
So what are your thoughts? Of course, it's not something we think about very often, but we'd love to hear what you think. So go ahead and chime in. You can write on the live stream on Facebook, or you can send us a message. Just let us know what you're thinking with this issue, right? So that's it for morning tea, and it is time for us to get into our show for today. And we're starting off with a conversation with the Director of Health Services. Of course, everyone has seen reports and stories coming from across the globe about the scare of coronavirus, the new coronavirus. And so we're going to have a bit of conversation about what the perspective is in Belize, what we're doing, and what you need to know as well. And then
we are going to be speaking about Dara's feeding program in our second segment. Dara is going to be here talking to us about all the new developments that have been going on with the program so far in 2020.
All right. And we're going to close off. The BDF Day is coming up, and we are going to have a conversation about what's going to be happening at this year's event. So that's what we have in store this morning. But before we do, we got to say that birthday shout out. And we are saying a happy birthday to Siobhan Leslie. We hope you have a great day today.
Yeah, happy birthday from all of us here on Open Your Eyes on Channel 5. So happy birthday to you, Siobhan.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take that break. When we come back, we'll start talking about the new coronavirus. So please stay tuned.
With over 100 years of service excellence in Belize, the Belize Bank Limited
we're back, and we are getting our conversation started talking about the coronavirus, I should say the new strain of coronavirus. And here to give us all the details as to what's happening globally as well as how we're preparing locally is Director of Health Services, Dr. Marvin Manzanero. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity.
Okay.
I think it's unfortunate that we seem to come around topics of global and then regional and national concern.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's being described as a global scare, and I think it's very fitting. You know, across the world, people are extremely concerned because it is a new virus. People are dying from it, and it seems there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of what is known about this new strain of coronavirus. So can we do just a bit of general information about the virus itself, how long it's been discovered, what's unique about it, and why it creates such a bit of a panic?
Well, I think whenever it's a novel or a new situation is when there's panic, and that's usually because of levels of uncertainty. There's still many unknowns in this regard. Coronaviruses have been around circulating in human species at least for 15, 16 years in terms of their ability to produce illnesses or diseases. SARS is one that had a much higher mortality rate, it seems, than this one. And even that has to be measured because we are not so sure what the level of mortality this virus is going to have. It doesn't seem to be having a high mortality rate for now, but again, there's many unknowns in that regard. There's also MERS, the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. That's caused by a coronavirus.
So this is one virus that has different types. SARS was a new one.
Yeah,
MERS was a new one.
Six previously known species of coronavirus. This is the seventh to be known to cause disease in humans.
Okay.
So, and it's usually going to be linked when they break off from the animal species and jump to the human species. Mm-hmm. In animal species, animals may have been exposed for a longer period. They develop immunity. They may or not develop disease. Mm-hmm. When there's a jump to the human species, that's when you usually will start having diseases in humans. Mm-hmm. And that's what usually has happened, especially with coronaviruses. For example, SARS was initially traced back to bats, passed on to a cat, and the cat passed it on to humans. Some sea animals like whales will have coronaviruses and don't have any disease. MERS came from camel, jumped to the human species. And this one, there is not the clear link. The virus that is most similar to this one was found in bats, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bat that transmitted it onto humans. It could have passed it on to another animal species and then on to us.
Yeah, yeah.
And every day we come across new information because even though it was linked specifically this outbreak, initially to the market, a market that sells live animals, now we know that the first clinical case seems to have actually been from the 1st of December. Mm-hmm. So that would not link it to that market.
So there's still a lot of investigation that is taking place.
Yeah, because and so there's lots of unknowns in that regard.
Yeah.
We had been aware of something going on through the international regulations, which is a network of health officials across the country that flags any anomaly that might be popping up.
Yeah.
So it wasn't known what was causing it. There was reports by pediatricians that there was something coming along. They weren't sure what was going on, so to be on the alert. And then, of course, more data started, and more data continues to arise every day.
Now, the concern with a new virus, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, would be that we don't know how to treat it yet. Is that the case?
Well, in this case, there is no specific, viruses, there is no real specific treatment. Mm-hmm. I think the unknown is because you don't know how it's going to behave. You don't know what level of transmission it's going to have. You don't know levels of mutation because viruses mutate every day. Initially with this one, we weren't sure whether there was a human-to-human transmission. Now there seems to be a pattern coming out where it's said now that every person that's positive will be transmitting the virus between 1.4 to 2.5 persons. Yeah. So once it's above 1, that means that it's going to propagate. If it's under 1, then
Is that a
that's
highly
usually-
transmittable rate, or is
Well, all that means is that once it's above 1, it's going to propagate itself onwards. If it's less than 1, then that means one person is passing it to practically nobody else. So again, this is initial investigations that are.
But if we could just link it to something like, let's say, the common flu, is that the same, less?
It probably is going to be the same for now.
Okay.
The other trick situation with this particular one, which is different from SARS and Ebola, for example, which is another, is that SARS and Ebola were transmitted once the patient had symptoms. In this particular case, there seems to be what we call asymptomatic carriers, which means people are not going to develop
They don't
signs
feel
and
sick.
symptoms. They won't, and they just pass it on. And that also means that not everybody who is getting the virus is getting sick. Not everybody is going to be severely ill. That percentage seems to be about 1 in 5 persons that will be severely ill.
And that is
I
a
would say-
concerning issue.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's
Yeah.
everybody's chief concern is that if it does spread, or if it does, what are the chances of me getting severely ill, possibly dying because of people who have already, because of the mortality rate that's already sort of becoming established with the virus already.
Yeah, and even mortality rate is a trick situation right now, because we know of at least 170 people that have died, all of them in China, mind you. But the problem is we don't know the denominator. We don't know how many people have been ill. But if you do basic math, which is not really recommended in the initial stages of the mortality rate doesn't seem to be as high as with SARS.
Well, the latest numbers are 7,700 cases.
It's about 2% mortality rate.
and
doing strict math.
170
Doing
deaths.
strict math.
And 17 countries have confirmed cases, but outside of China, there are only 68 cases.
Yeah, no deaths.
And no deaths.
In that.
So what does this mean?
Well, again, because you don't know the denominator, but
Yeah.
we know you talked about drawing a parallel. Perhaps we can draw a parallel also with other influenza viruses.
Okay.
In the flu season that's going on in the region, the common flu, that can evolve to a progressive and harsher case of pneumonia, complicated pneumonia. We have around a 4% mortality rate.
Yeah.
So I know we are concerned, scared, if you will, about the coronavirus, but we really can't take all the light off the influenza season that we have, because our influenza season has had people
It does
die.
kill people. Yeah.
I know of 2 Belizeans this year alone that traveled outside of Belize for business, for whatever, and died in the US. Now the virus that they took was from here. They developed progressive respiratory disease and died in the US. So I mean, our flu viruses can kill us.
Yeah, and I think I've heard this message coming out from the Ministry of Health, and you're right, when we spoke of common causes of death, it's surprising to think that in the top 10, the flu is one of our top killers, over 100, at least in 2018. I'd imagine 2019 was similar. So we know what that does is also add a scare that if there is coronavirus in Belize, we already don't take care of the flu because we're dying from it every year. So what's going to happen in a case of a new form of flu that people don't know how to treat and we don't know much about yet?
We do swabbing as well. So because we need to know what we have, because whatever data we have is fed into a global flu bank of information, because that determines what kind of vaccine is going to be produced, which is why the flu vaccine changes every year. Depends on the dynamics. The lab data I got a couple of days ago suggests that we have identified in our cohort 119 different viruses. And I had mentioned 6 strains of coronavirus. We have 2 in Belize, not the new one, but we have coronaviruses circulating in Belize that have been identified in Belize. So it's not, I mean, with viruses, it's a situation of when it's going to come. You talk about being scared. We are preparing globally for a new pandemic. It's just when it's going to come around. I mean, there's even an influenza global strategic plan 2019-2030 in preparation for It's just a question of when. It's not if. Even with this new coronavirus, it's eventually going to make itself across the world. It's just when. That's a key concern, I guess.
Okay, that was a bit of a scary thought there in terms, because our idea of pandemic is something that spreads rapidly across the globe and kills a lot of people. But when you talk about new diseases, I'm thinking of other issues. We had the Zika scare, we had the chikungunya scare, we had the Ebola scare, we had the SARS scare, H1N1 scare, swine flu scare. When you look at all of those issues and how Belize had to get into protective mode and preventative mode, what are some of the lessons that we have learned locally to try to deflect and prevent having anyone come into the country and spreading this disease?
Interestingly, we have H1N1 circulating as well now.
Yeah. But we didn't get it when it was the outbreak.
But that year, when the outbreak was on, we had people die, and not of H1N1, of the other influenza viruses as well. So, I mean, we can't shy away from that. It's classic public health measures. That's what you need to be able to establish. I know that one of the key things that people keep particularly saying on social media is, okay, travel bans. But that's not routinely recommended. I mean, classic public health measures are what you need to be able to establish, which means in the case of Belize, what you do is, okay, you need to be able to establish links. How is your link going to get here quicker? Is, okay, flights originating out of China, US, via Panama, via El Salvador, are coming here.
Yeah.
We know that people leaving China are being screened. So that's a first layer of protection. Right? People arriving in the US are being screened. That's a second layer, if you will, in terms of scrutiny that's being taken. What in our meeting with airport officials, what we have asked is that we would want a manifest of all the passengers arriving prior to them arriving, which means we should be able to know where they are originating, and then have a direct contact with anybody coming out of China, where they have been. If they have been in close contact with anybody they know that was sick. Or if patients are asymptomatic, people are asymptomatic, you really can't quarantine people just because they are coming out of China. You need to be able to have a contact in terms of, okay, at any point in time when you're ill, this is what the measures you're going to be able to take, which is what everybody else is doing. Because again, you may have people who will never develop signs and symptoms. So if you just quarantine them, it doesn't really make sense. But there are cases that we have been flagged.
But isn't there a risk? I want to stick a pin there. If we're saying that it may be, because we're only learning as we go along, transmitted when someone doesn't feel sick. If you have a manifest that says someone was in Beijing a week ago, and they came into Belize, they passed through the screening in China, they passed through the screening in the US, in Belize, we would still allow that person to leave the airport and interact with whatever business they came
Well, actually, we know 2 students that were coming, that are Belizean students that are in China and are being sent back because of their measures in terms of sending out international students. I mean, everybody across the world, these students are going to be sent. So we are going to be aware of when they arrive, and they are going to a self-quarantine, self-isolation.
Okay.
Right? It means they are
come
to the airport.
To.
Yeah, that's part of the condition. So we know how that travel situation is going to come about. We have had people who were in China, we're aware of that, who have arrived in country before the actual outbreak has happened, 2-3 weeks ago, have remained asymptomatic. Or if they develop any disease now, it's not going to be related to that, it's related to whatever we have here. So this becomes kind of detective work as well, which is why you're saying, things change as you go along. It's, I think, trying to be alert with what is changing with the virus, the dynamics of how it spreads, and then trickling it back to the work we do here.
And in terms of managing the disease, and I suppose even like prevention, because it's an important conversation, because not only this new virus we were also talking about the common flu viruses and stuff. What sort of measures can people take to sort of just protect their general health? Whenever, to protect from any sort of virus like this.
Yeah, I just went back to read it before I came here because it changes every.
Yeah.
in terms of prevention, it hasn't changed what you have for other flu viruses is what you have here, which means respiratory etiquette. You know, if you are ill, you have to really be trying to make sure you don't pass on the flu to anybody else. The proper washing of hands, right? That remains a key message that is across every single situation you read. 90% of infections may be prevented if you actually wash your hands properly. If you know you have been in an area or exposed to somebody who may have it, you need to be able to come to a health facility and say, this is where I have been. Yeah, that's how you go about doing prevention measures. For example, if you go look at the first case in the US, that person went through all the screens. He wasn't really ill. He read it on the news, it kept popping up, and he said, okay, I was there. It seems that I have symptoms that could lead up to it. So he went to the health facility, was swabbed, and then diagnosed, didn't develop any major complication in that regard. So it's the classic things that we know to prevent getting infected, and also making sure that we are not passing on the infection to others.
Now, the CARPHA, the Caribbean Public Health Agency, I think last week it said that the Caribbean is low risk for the outbreak. The United States, the US officials say they are low risk, even though they do have cases in the US. They say that they are low risk for the outbreak. Now, when the global attention is on a new disease that has killed whatever percentage, it makes people fearful. How do you put it into context that what this low risk status means, and that work continues even if we are at a low risk status?
Yeah, well, the low risk status, I think, came out of a meeting we had virtually last week, Wednesday, and that may change as we go along. There was another meeting virtual yesterday, and there's one through PAHO, which is all the American region, at midday today, virtual as well. So that situation may change as we go along. Low risk means the probability of it coming here and having the same effect as it is happening in central portions of China is going to be totally different in that regard. Low risk means there's not going to be as much a health impact in terms of mortality and morbidity as is happening compared to where it's originating from. But that is going to change. I mean, IHR, WHO may be meeting every 48 hours to determine what the global risk
Well, they're meeting
becomes.
today to decide if they're going to declare it a global emergency?
The reason why also the Caribbean was placed like that is because there is no direct connections coming here, and the amount of persons coming here is not as much as in other places. I mean, you know, airlines have now started to cancel flights to China, but they are saying it's not because there's an imposed travel ban, but because the affluence of people going to China, I mean, is minimal now. So airlines have said, well, I don't have enough passengers to go, so I'm just canceling flights until this situation kind of normalizes itself. So that may change. The low risk has to do with the probability of it getting here and the implications it may have after that.
So you said very clearly that we don't have direct flights from China. So it's not that we would have to do the first screening. We are almost at the point of third screening, because they get a screening in China, a screening in whatever connecting country, and then to Belize. What kind of checks? We hear and see, because we have the US media informing us, what kind of screens are taking place there. But what about Salvador? And what about Panama? And what about even people coming through the border crossings in the north and west?
Yeah, I think the flights coming through El Salvador, may have 3 connections before they get here.
Okay.
I am not so sure about the connection through Panama, but I think the connection is to a European country as well. So they have more legs when they come down that route. The shortest route is going to be China, LA, China, Houston, on to Belize. Those are the shorter connecting flights. And that's usually a 48-hour process before you get here. So that in itself becomes a barrier, because it's not like if you have a 2-hour flight to get somewhere and after 48 hours, you expect if they are going to get ill, that something is starting to come up. But again, those are going to be screened and identified and followed. Because intention is not that they get lost once they get to Belize. Understand that you have Belizeans also going to Japan. Just this week we get asked, is it okay for us to go? I mean, again, there's no travel ban. It's the usual precautions that you have to take.
Yeah, and are they also sort of monitoring the situation in China itself? Because I mean, we hear they're trying to, you know, impose certain quarantines, restricting movement, especially from, let's call it, the epicenter of where the virus originated. And of course, you know, China is a huge country, over 1 billion people. So it's not as though it would be impractical, I suppose, to impose an all-out travel ban. But do we also take sort of that information into account when they're doing screenings and stuff?
Yeah, because for example, the ones that we know did arrive were not in the area. I mean, remember the quarantine in the 3 cities that initially came has been there for a week now. So even the people that are being allowed to travel out go back to their countries, because you have people from Mexico and they have been able to travel and no signs or symptoms. So I mean, that in itself becomes a layer of protection. Now China is the one who decided to do that, and I can only guess that it has to do with the experience they had with SARS.
Well, they were heavily criticized for SARS as well, for how they handled SARS.
But now I think their willingness to do self-quarantine may be as a result of that, but I think it also has economic implications. I mean, with SARS, the amount of money is lost, and now the amount of money they are going to start to lose with all flights being cancelled there. I mean, we have 17 airlines that have now said
they're not going to China.
Well, they are minimizing, but they're flying to Hong Kong, which, I mean, is not that far from China. So how are you still going to handle that?
So I think what we need to talk about, because understanding, you know, whether it's low risk at this moment or if it's declared a global emergency today, people want to know that Belize is ready and that we are doing all we can to prevent anyone getting into the country to spread the virus, but also at this time of the outbreak, to be clear, but also if there is a suspected case, that we have a proper protocol, isolation area, protective gear, all the things that will be essential to contain the spread of the virus.
Well, there's many unknowns, just like with Ebola, which seem to be much more higher mortality, more easily transmittable disease. That in itself allows you to start to prepare for situations like this. You may never be prepared. I mean, if a virus evolves neighboring Mexico, then the situation is different. What is being done in this case, for example, today we're doing 2 investigations, rumor investigations up north, of people saying, okay, we think that this person was in China, is ill, maybe they have the coronavirus. And we already had an incident earlier in the week in Keycaca. Investigation is done and you follow the process.
So you investigate any report that is made?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, unfortunately, that's going to be where it's going to go now, because surveillance teams are on the alert for that. That's the only way you're going to be able to find them, if there is any detective work. But the intention is, once you have a suspect case, for example, the cases in Corozal, the preliminary data I got seem to be people who got the flu here. They're still going to be swabbed, right? And the necessary precautions in that regard. If we feel that that's a suspect case, right? Because then the amalgam changes in that regard, then you have to go and do isolation depending on how ill the patient is.
Where do you isolate? Do we have a specific area for isolation?
We will have to get an isolation area where, I mean, if this is in Corozal, we have to identify an area where the person is isolated until you have gotten any kind of clearance. Now, we do some testing for viruses here, right? So you might be getting the result within 24 hours, and then
but will we be able to test for coronavirus?
Well, we are able to determine that. If we think that it's a novel coronavirus, that has to go on to CDC. I mean, that there's 2 labs, I think, only that are doing it in the American. So it has to go either to Atlanta or to Canada. Atlanta is a quicker connection. And then you do your detective work, which means if you have contacts, you'll have to go and map out all the contacts, right, and ascertain. treatment is always going to be the cause, because I think the panic here is not so much it's what probability do I have of getting it, what probability do I have of dying from it. And I think there's been much deliberation, but just yesterday in discussion we had with Central Health Region, the key thing is the treatment, there's none, but you get supportive treatment. When you have the flu, what do you do with the patient?
You take care of the symptoms.
Symptoms. If the patient progresses, you treat it progressively. If you require antibiotics because they got another infection or they progress to a respiratory viral pneumonia, then you treat it accordingly. I mean, we have our flu cases, influenza cases that progress, they may have to be intubated, ventilated, hooked up to a ventilator in an ICU, and give the supportive treatment as you go along. Is this, when you go back to the medical data, it's the same thing that's done in this case. Is, of course, people are going to say, okay, but then you isolate an ICU, you have to find a mechanism for doing that. But it's not, I mean, there's no treatment granted. Even in China right now, they don't know what they're going to do. I mean, with SARS, what they eventually used was lopinavir, ritonavir medications used for HIV. But it might be the same thing here. And until we know, that's the way it's going to go.
So what do we know about successful treatment? Because let's shift perspective here. We were talking about that this morning. So 170 people have died from the over 7,000 cases. So that means that there are over 7,000 people who contracted or got the virus, and I'm assuming are healthier at this point because it's been a while since we've had it. So is there information being shared as to how the people who have not died from the disease have been treated, and are those protocols that are going to be implemented here in Belize?
Yes, actually, when we reviewed the preliminary data that was shared with us 1 week ago, actually, 70% of the patients that had died were people older than 65, who had other chronic conditions, diabetes, hypertension, COPD. It's a heavy smoking situation in China. So that in itself follows the pattern of other flu viruses, right? So that's something that we are looking at. What cohort of patients are dying? You are right. It's 20% only that develop progressively more severe disease. It doesn't mean that all of them have required to be in an ICU or ventilated. It's just a more progressive cough and respiratory distress. But 80% of those patients are having just the common flu symptoms. No specific treatment either. The severe cases are being treated as far as we
like
know,
how you treat a flu.
symptomatically.
Now, you know that there is quite a bit of concern that because we don't see the type of measures that we see being taken in China, we don't see being taken in the US, people aren't walking around with masks. I know in the US, the CDC is trying to look at how to prevent people from getting masks because it might actually reduce the availability for healthcare workers. You know, we don't see that type of urgency that seems to be taking place everywhere else. Why is that?
I don't know in terms of urgency. I can tell you the work that we are doing at health surveillance teams has shifted. I mean, I don't think they have been doing anything else from Wednesday of last week to now in terms of just trying to give the information, trying to get the message across, not specific to coronavirus. And maybe that's perhaps where the message is being lost, in the sense that, okay, the flu ads are on, for example. We had the opportunity to give flu shots, vaccination. It didn't really happen. Wash your hands. Those things are implicit. The masks is a tricky situation because if you review what happens in China, people routinely there have started using masks from the SARS situation. So I don't know that they started using more masks now. Perhaps our focus now is there and again. But when you review data 2-3 months ago, the vast amount of people walking in streets had on masks, and that also has to do with their
Air quality.
air quality. So that's one. Two is a mask may not necessarily help a frontline worker. If we are saying 90% of infections can be prevented by washing your hands, avoid touching your face, you are a long way in that regard. And it shouldn't really be that we are going to be using masks just because of the coronavirus until we know that something has changed, of course, because you have other flu viruses that we probably are going to be able to get, and I don't know that the mask is necessarily going to help. A mask in somebody who's not used to wearing it may actually be a foci of infection, because you have a mask. If you analyze what people do is you tend to try to fix the mask more routinely, so the amount of times you may be actually touching the mask on your face is going to be increased.
Incubating it.
And this is an incubation situation in and of itself. So it may be a false sense of security that you have. Even the gloves that people have, right? So again, it has to do with proper, how many times do you touch your face? How many times do you go from your phone to your face? Those kinds of things. So the mechanisms are in place. I think our role has got to be to provide adequate information, timely information, and we need to be getting information from the sources. I mean, if we are getting information from everybody else, and I think the other thing that we have noted, particularly yesterday on one of media interactions, is that the sense is that we are perhaps downplaying it, but I don't know how much of our message is also being downplayed. When we started talking about the flu in November, December of last year, I mean, if we still have 20,000 vaccines that were not
People
used,
didn't take their flu shot.
even healthcare workers, some entities have 10% uptake.
So how does, I mean, if you take the flu shot now, it doesn't necessarily stop you from getting the new coronavirus.
The other viruses.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, again, the other thing with the flu shot, it doesn't mean you're not going to get the flu. Because people say, oh, I get it, and I still get sick. Or I get it and then I feel ill for the next 4 or 5 days because you get a milder form of the flu. But the reason why the flu shot is because it tries to boost up your immunity so that you don't get more aggressive cases, so that you don't wind up being in an ICU.
So you don't have that knockout flu that puts you in the hospital.
Yeah.
Now, if I am coming into the country tomorrow, what am I going to meet at the airport? Tell me, give me a sense of security that the Ministry of Health at PGIA, or even with the cruise ships coming in, are doing due diligence to ensure that we are doing all we can to not have this virus enter the country. What's different at our entry points?
The cruise ship is perhaps a quicker question because they have their own doctors, they have their own quarantine room.
They have to submit information before.
They have the manifest, right? So that's submitted before, and you have public health inspectors going on board to determine who is allowed to come on or off. And then one cruise line has decided to take their own measures and notch further. That's their own internal in terms of who they will allow to board their ship and who won't. That's an internal decision they have taken. In the airport, it would not require, it's not going to mean that everybody is going to be screened.
So I'm not going to have my temperature checked when I come into the airport.
We'll go to the temperature check right now. But the manifest that we have requested from all airlines now is because we normally get a manifest, but we are asking for an extra column in terms of where they are originating, because I don't want them to just say they are coming from Dallas to here. Where was your place of origin? If that is from the affected area, then there's an extra screening process that is going to happen in terms of we interacting with you, doing your initial detective work, and then determining how much of a risk you are. Based on that, then you take the necessary precautions. If there's a suspect case and stuff, then there's processes that will be done in terms of isolation, triaging that patient to a facility here, and then determining what happens.
Have we identified isolation areas, even at the public hospital here?
We are going to select one facility in Belize City only where those patients will be channeled. We did get the question of what happens if they get progressively ill. Then we'll have to follow the same route. I mean, we only have one intensive care unit, and that's part of what you're going to have to determine how that's going to go in that regard. Now remember, again, you have other coronaviruses circulating in Belize, so again, unless it's changing drastically and dramatically in terms of infectivity and infectiousness, then the ball game changes completely.
What happens if the WHO declares today a global health emergency?
That means all public health surveillance efforts across the globe change. I mean, more restrictions are going to be placed. Travel bans countries may decide to do that on their own, although that's not routinely recommended. International regulations from 2005 will tell you that's not routinely recommended. Even though people are saying, oh, we should do that because we don't have the capacity to deal with these cases, but then what about all the other countries in the region? You know? And it's not that we take directions from WHO. We have to zone it in and determine what that will mean for us.
All right. So what is your recommendation to Belizeans today? People who are watching and are concerned, what would you tell them about what they can do to prevent, and also what type of information they should be paying attention to?
Well, I think even when we read headlines from abroad, we need to be able to read the entire story, because if you read the headline only, it's going to be...
It's not the whole story.
Yeah, that's one. Two, we are going to try to provide updates on a routine basis, at least once a day, hopefully by 2 p.m. every day, because it's changing. So even WHO, as I said, we're meeting with PAHO twice today. If there's anything that changes in terms of measures, we plan to do that every day, weekends included, even through our social media platforms. And three is, the flu vaccine is still available. If people want to come, although we are in the middle of the season, people can still have access to that. But the other measures remain. I mean, the washing of hands, the proper respiratory, because even if it were to
Coughing
get
in
here,
your elbow
yeah, I mean,
instead of your hands or a rag.
if you're getting progressively, if you have the flu more than 2 or 3 days, it can be self-medicating. You need to go to your doctor.
Yeah.
Those things will remain.
Don't go to
in
work
place.
if you're sick.
Don't go to work if you're sick. I mean, it's going to be understood. We might have our own viruses here as well, you know, and because the reason always keeps coming back, why China? Well, the density of the population and their closeness to live animals. That is perhaps the reason why they are exporting more viruses. And I'll use one more example in terms of viruses and Belize, because the notion is that we are very much different in that regard. And we are. In the HIV study we did in 2012, for example, talking about a virus, our virus in Belize that was mapped is very different from the viruses in every other Mesoamerican country. Our one is the only one that is very different, it's very colorful, if you will. It doesn't match anyone from Mexico, Guatemala, all the way down to Colombia. And we have that data that has been published. So viruses mutate. Our one
So what
mutates
you're
at a
saying
different
is
rate.
we have the capacity to detect
Everybody.
new strains in Belize as well.
Everybody, but it's perhaps not going to have an impact as this one is having,
Yeah.
simply because of the population density. So we have to be on the lookout, we have to be on the alert, go to the adequate channels, and when anything changes in terms of dynamics, we'll be communicating that.
You said that you have 2 investigations to do today. How concerned should we be about that? And also, start with that. Yeah.
The preliminary data doesn't seem to indicate they would be coronavirus cases, but we have to do our due diligence in ensuring that we are able to correctly say these are not cases.
One in Corozal and the second?
Both are in Corozal District.
Both are in Corozal. And what's your advice to people if they suspect that they or somebody else may or may not have come in contact with the virus?
They will have to go to their closest health facility, and they will be properly screened in terms of doing epidemiological data review and assess your risk.
And where do you make a report if it's somebody else?
Same health facility.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in and having this conversation with us. I think there's a lot of information that we needed to know and understand, and we look forward to the next update as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Dara Robinson to talk about fundraising efforts for his feeding program. So stay tuned.
And we are back. Joining us now for our segment is Dara Robinson, who is a community activist and, of course, the head of Dara's feeding program. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
We're so happy to have you here. How are you feeling?
Usually, to the beginning, a little nervous, but when I start flow, I'll the experience with it, you know, the cameras and things.
Yeah, but you know, you're pretty well known in the community, but perhaps for some of our viewers, you know, across the country who may not be familiar with Dara and who is Dara and what your feeding program is all about, maybe you could give a little bit of background on who you are and, you know, what the program is all about.
Well, to start, the program, it's only 13 years now. Basically, the life story with me when I myself was a victim of the very same thing, you know, going to school hungry many days, and I know the battle of dealing with that when your mother tell you, babes, when you don't come home, something on there, sometimes we do get food, sometimes nothing, and we do that for years, and in my time, you don't have no feeding program, that if a teacher sorry for you, or you hustle for your friends and things, that's so you eat something. So I know the seriousness of it, and I see what part I could have be a very bright boy, but it affect my education because I not got time to study teacher. You to try worry, and then I as the oldest boy, they worry about my brothers and sisters, you know. So that me a tough battle, and I find out it happens still. So I just use my life and my effort to bring awareness to this seriousness of kids going to school hungry.
13 years ago when you started, how many kids were you feeding?
12. I start with a lead crowd, bring them at the house, feed them. And but I mean, know because we been doing a survey and know, so I start off small. Some days when we couldn't feed them, we'd buy like gachos and things, and we start off small, and the demands start to come because the kids then look out for each other and start to bring one another. Then I had to tell them, like, listen, this is not designed for that.
They're not free food, it's for food for people who don't have, right?
Right. So, and it grew, and during it grow, I had to come up with an idea how no one was sustain this because of the talk, I want to help and do it, and at the seat they come. Then I started to get involved with some of the schools there, and make them ask the kids there, and then the teachers. I got several teachers where they look out and ask the kids if they had lunch or back. And I send them to the program, and it's grown where we right now. My space only for 40, but we do over 50 right now. And I know the plan for carry it no higher than that, but my message of to make other programs start and other people to help. You know, because me one can't solve it or deal with it, but with my effort and my push, other people could join along.
And since the program has grown, how have you? What's the level of support and stuff that you've received?
I just mentioned before I come on, the Belize, your name and your work on glorify, but the support that like is, you have it. I'm me that the type guy, I not like beg or like the lean for nobody. So during God give me this gift, He also give me vision how to go along doing it, but then you could plan all your fundraising, but if you don't get the people know about it or rile up about it or want to come for a reason for come for it, then your fundraising not even help. Over the years, Bob Marley event has always given me 2 months or so push. People hear a lot now about the Rye feeding program, but the other months then the program still continue and everything they done, you understand? And I think I give 13 years at this, and I open up to any media, any business, because when a lot of business come there, can do community work. When a lot of kids come there, they have to do their own thing where they can serve picnic, then I stamp sign. So there's no secret. The only rules I have, I don't allow people to take picture. So when I run in trouble, the last month I do this interview or this month or
this month, yeah.
I tell my wife, like, I think I reach people now they get it and the seriousness, and I open up to the media.
Why didn't you want pictures taken before?
Because I just do it in the past political people just blow up me and my picnic and got them on posters and thing. And I find out that then kids get teased and like I end up in a meeting sometime where then you got kids that call them hungry picnic and tease them some of them fight and I have to sometimes on the street like school one they try to make sure that because we do have bully and I try now because again I the help but I don't really want to show up the pic they don't like that, you understand? I mean if you defeat or help somebody you don't really want discriminate that way. So I try to protect them and then I may attend a meeting with UNICEF and then also may mention that also.
Yeah.
I mean don't see that
you don't need everybody
correct.
to know that they need.
And why I do and a lot of parents do this now, then maybe their kid may got a negative thought, then send them come eat sometime with them very same kid. My kids eat wrong the same bench and thing with them. We not try treat them no different or thing, you know.
So you run into hard times the beginning of
Lots
this
of
year.
time I run into hard time.
Yeah.
And I have few people where I could call and I may feel like that just them people that I depend every time and I know them is strain. I say tell my wife and I the type of person I pray a lot and like I just lead and God lead me that way and I just follow it. And I call out on the basically the nation and for help. And I must say, right now, several people, I mean, the common woman and man that meet me in the grocery place, they buy and get the around and leave couple pound of rice or push on 5 and 10 pound your business coming. Then when they got me, they don't know, they try to draft up letters that inside your ask for your sponsor one by Mali thing. Ask for a monthly something or so, and a lot of leeways, then they try to see how they could help me.
So the program runs you a cost of about $3,000 a month.
Right.
To feed
and that
almost 50 children.
And that just basically food. I never add in my utilities. I never add in maintenance because your burners, your stove, your cups, your plates, and they broke up.
You cook every day.
Your refrigerator when he ready is shut down. You have to bring in people for the money. I mean, I never really put a real figure to what I do. And we may do one for a few years back, like 5 years, where we may get like 2,500. But every time you go buy now, things now go up by 5 cents, shilling 50 cents. So I put a wrong figure.
Yeah.
I know we there in that range for food.
So when you did the public appeal, you had more people, I mean, you said you had an outpouring of support.
Yeah, and more people come and really sit with me. Like yesterday, a lady from Boyne sit with me for at least an hour and really check out the program and say, and basically like that, and then they get back to me for whatever. Because there is still things that the program like need to get done.
Yeah.
Like storage, I need any storage area because if you got food, right now in my hall, I got rice, beans, flour, everything in the middle of my hall, you understand? And there is a lot of little things where need to get it done, to keep it sanitary and that we got the least space. But I lean a lot on the business people and I lean a lot on people for support because I have my only business and thing, and I don't got a big family. I got 2 daughters where I could sit back and mind and live comfortable, but I not create that way there, you understand? Now with where I know they happen.
You know, I think that we were talking, you said you should have come to the media a long time.
Really?
Because people have always known, I think a lot of people know that you do this, but they just assume that, you know, you got it handled, that it's just a go.
Well, I get a lot, and from Christian people, a lot of people I meet you and say, boy, God and bless you, boy, good work you did do. But sometimes I want to tell you, for the know I need some blessing. If we just keep up this program, you know. I had an elder, well, every time he meet me that morning, he said, I'll pray for you, this and that and it. And I tell him, sir, with due respect, if you donate rice or meat or something to me, that will be a real blessing. And he listened to me and he started help. No, but that's what I need. I not really made it do this for like, if you say, no big up or no award. The amount of award I get and have That never my thing. That to bring awareness that we got this problem and we have the way how we solve it, that by we get involved and try to help with it. Yes, we got some what less parents with that, but to the end of the day, that picnic we talk about, you understand? So that was a serious thing, and I try to continue it. I mean, tell them the real truth, I mean, get where I couldn't deal with it no more. Plus, my wife, over the 13 years, she started to have like arthritis with the heat and cold, pain in her hand. So with that way, we even need to hire somebody to can do the hard part of the cooking and she manage it. So there's a lot of the things I have to try to do this year.
Because it's just been you and your wife preparing this food.
And then I have her auntie wash up. We have one special need youth to basically rake the yard clean. Because if people come in and help to the end of the day, they want to pay. We not got, nobody get no salary. That's for we place, you understand? Money not there for that. So we need, when I do the event here, I want people look on it as the more than pay tribute to Bob Marley. Yes, I love Bob Marley, no doubt about that, and I love the way how Bob live and may carry life beside the music.
Yeah.
So I enjoy doing tribute to them guys, but I want people to understand that the small support, Bob said one cocoa full of basket, do help. So when you come under an event and you pay your $10 to enter, you do the help to us and cars. And I good at manage my money and stretch it. I do that over the years.
So tell us a little bit more about the event that's upcoming. It's the 18th annual.
Well, at Dara's Cyber Home Theater and Red Stripe, you know, we again have a big up Red Stripe to come on board, and they help me with the promotion. If you pass out there, when I see some big banner like they bring in Junior Gang or them guys, and I feel good when I see it because I say at least people they see it and not just use the smaller social media and thing with the out there big. So I give thanks to them. All of this one occurred this Sunday at Barzile. I like that era there because it's peaceful and people used to that gathering and thing. I even include back in my show because people tell me, boy, I love your show and thing, but you need a band. So I try now to add in a band. And this year we have the new creation band with Kenny Gladden. They are perform a special tribute to Bob Marley, meaning not but Bob Marley then guys and play. Of course, we have with DJs like we got found out a tag to youth where we bring we got Dalla, and I feel good for bring one legend like Stone Jam, where people known as somebody as a senior selector one come and do a session, Tony G. Beside that, I know a lot of people into Super Bowl, so I even show that out there and screen that live. So you know, might they hear it, but you want to stay tuned and see who the win. I think the reggae music have the pump, you know.
Yeah.
Beside that, we have, of course, Boeing products at good price. I got one rule: you come to my show, and you left your house, left it with a positive mind and come with good behavior.
Yeah.
The police department over there know that, you know, that the show, they never come there and got no hard work. All we ask them to do that, like, just look over the bar, make sure nobody they move nothing, to keep the gate tight, make sure people they pay and come in.
You know, for years, this was one of your main fundraisers.
Yeah.
Through ticket sales and also through donations, because people come to the event and they bring donations there. Is that still a part of what you do?
Yeah, well, that's why the show need tribute to Bob Marley and food drive. I set up barrels and thing, and people do bring. You have the early crowd, like the elders, they don't want to hang long, but they want to bring them thing. Maybe they want to take and call one, reason it me, they want to roll. The food thing, no one come like around 8, 9, because that crowd are the party crowd. Then they come for bash, you understand? But we do get, and you have people where you that said $10 and they were like boat, then I tell them, just get the radish and she take one note that somebody give more than $10. You still have people when I want to pay 10, so I tell her, work it out, man. If they give 5, let them in as long as they come with good behavior. But I try all kind of way to keep the program sustain, because I think by now I should just manage that.
Yeah.
You know, the money I generate for myself can't sustain it and can't carry the work, you know.
Yeah.
So we do need the support of the community. I want to mention quick before I forgot, also where Red Stripe did do for me, San Pedro on Bob Marley Day, which is the 6th of February. Then they have one fundraising out there for me, where I wanted to the show about Marley, Marley's band and everything, and people just want to donate, you know, in our thing where I have
Nice.
to make. But then it's all kind of way, and I find out more that I open up to the people. Even I have to give thanks to the Belizean Americans and then abroad people.
Yeah.
They try all kind of way to contact me to find out how they can help with the cause. And I feel blessed and I feel much comfortable that I could keep the kitchen open and kids come. And I know have to, me and wife, you know, have to go through, like, she want to do certain things. I tell her, yeah, we not got money for that, make we stick with her. Right now, they cook comfortable that, and the kids, they get it proper. Because we also got kids who come to the program that's sick, diabetic and things, so we have to do like
Special food for them.
Right. When we could afford that, we do that.
Yeah.
Or rest otherwise, then eat where everybody else eat. But I tell you the truth, every day when I get up, I feel worthless to live, that because of what I do. You know, that like I feel happy when I don't feed them picnic and see them go. That one great feeling. I can't express it. That one great feeling.
So where do you, where do you see the program going in the future?
As long as I get the support, Bedrin, I ain't feed for the long term. I read that, like I said on the news, and I did see was, I read that God said that rather time if you come home, and then kids know that I'm not there. But I want, as long as I live in, I be on, and I got thousands of kids pass through my program. Some sad again the other day and do a lecture at prisoners, the song of the youth. They believe why then, like when they lose then they go to gang and they're at jail or then dead. But I meet some of the legally we make it through the rough time and I reason it then. Still the struggle, but with girls they do much better than the boys. With the lose with boys then rapidly.
Now, for people who are watching, because I think what happened before was people knew you were doing it and they just figured you were getting enough
Yeah.
support and not realizing that you were struggling.
Yeah, and I
So what would you say to them now about how they can help?
You say one thing, media good and media do, because I say Marlene said I want to contribute this $1,000 or $500 to Dara, and they make one news story about it. But the bedroom, I never did ask your name.
Gavin.
Gavin, donate, and you hit the media. You do have people who say, "Why Dara come up, man? He get," but them money there, you have to manage it. You have to make sure things that if you
Yeah,
do
it might be less than enough for 1 month.
and it do help, but this kind of program need constant. And you could give me a container of food, for cook the food, for a kitchen to reach out there. You need finance
Yep.
still for do that. You
You have to
understand?
buy your butane alone.
Everything.
Yeah?
Vegetable, you can go buy that and store that for 2-3 days. Because that done, they look for get saggy. So you have to buy them things every day. So you do need finance, you do need food stuff. And of course, your utilities, like I tell you, then they go up. You have to maintain your refrigerator, your stove. I mean, a lot of work, a lot of work.
So what's the account that people can access? How can they help?
You catch me up. I really.
You have it where?
Everything on my phone. I never come prepared.
Well, you can't lose the opportunity to ask people to help.
And I know, sorry about that. I really never come prepared with it, but I wish I may do, because then people do call and lot and ask me for it, but I can't. I know that Atlantic Bank is there in a Dara feeding program,
Okay.
but I can't remember the numbers. You know.
Well, that works too, because you can go into the bank
Yeah,
and
and
say
just
it's
ask
for
for
that
Dara
name.
feeding program and
At
or-
Atlantic Bank.
Or you could contact me the 623-3662, 623-3662, and directly Like I say, you always welcome to come and see what happen at the program and see where pay your money go and see where they go. I always ask that you know could take a million pictures Dara, but no me pick there, you know.
And coming out to the event on Sunday.
Sunday, we do need the support. Like I said, I want the up on a big jump. So like 6 months from now when my next event come, I don't have to call people for continue. I want to sustain my thing myself and control it and not stress about it, you know, because it do take control.
Yeah. Well, Dara, we thank you for coming in, and we really wish you the best of luck. The event takes place this Sunday at Bird's Isle.
From 4
it
o'clock.
starts from 4,
Go
$10
1.
to get in, and you can always take that opportunity to bring some of the donations.
We have T-shirts and blouses for sale. We only give away a lot of things because some business players give me gift certificate for giving. A lot of things happen. I already ask to come out with good behavior.
And if you're worried about missing the Super Bowl,
Don't
you'll be showing it too, right?
On the big screen. Yeah,
All right, Dara, thank you
Thanks for
so
the time.
much.
Bless, man.
We're going to go ahead and take that break. When we come back, we'll be talking about BDF Day, so stay tuned.
No
You see the drummers. Wanna invite everyone out to BDF Day 2020 this Saturday, 1st of February at Price Barracks, Ladyville. Hey,
Bomba!
hey,
Bomba!
Agaya,
Ayaha!
Agaya,
Ayaha!
hey, Kochane,
Tumbo!
hey, Kochane,
Tumbo!
hey, Kochane,
Tumbo!
hey, Kochane.
Tumbo!
Oh,
Ah! Ah!
you say the drummers, BDF Day 2020. Hey, Bagadi Balisina man, Mitara Haligo.
Que tu hombre!
We were Balisina man, Mitara Haligo.
Que su ole!
Ili down your mouth, Maria Gohania,
Apite me na file!
Ili down your mouth, Mabusuruania,
Apite me na file!
BDF Day 2020 this Saturday, 1st of February. We the good to you, Yada Umanda. Me da do to you,
Aldo no dio!
We the good to you, Yada Umanda. Me da do to you,
Aldo dio!
Anyera unyo, enya benera, enya benera. Anya gar benera, anya gar benera, anya gar benera, anya gar benera. Once again, BDF Day this Saturday. You see the drummers will be in the house. Hey,
Bomba!
hey,
Bomba!
Agaya,
Ayaha!
Agaya.
Ayaha!
Hey, Kochane,
Tumbo!
hey, Kochane,
Tumbo!
hey, Kochane,
Tumbo!
hey, Kochane.
Tumbo!
BDF Day 2020 this Saturday, the 1st.
Right. And we have Iseni Drummers, and that was just a preview of what you can expect come BDF Day this Saturday. We have with us this morning 3 representatives from the BDF Day committee. We have Assistant Superintendent Brent Hamilton. In the middle, we have Captain Ashley Main, and on the end, Captain Ivan Lucario. Good morning, and thank you for
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
And I think you should be a bit more awake. You didn't do some punta just now?
A little shake, a little bit of shaking.
Ivan, I know you can't stop yourself, right? All right, so we are looking at celebrating the 42nd anniversary of the Belize Defense Force. And that starts with a number of activities. So let's
Yes,
talk
it
about
does.
that.
So the first thing we're going to kick off with this Friday is the passing out of our 100+ recruits. And we're all excited for them to become new members of the Belize Defense Force. However, we are celebrating on Saturday the Open Day. And the theme for this year is Military and Citizen Security Protecting 8867 through social diversity and cooperation.
Yeah.
We want the civilian populace to understand that if we work together as a team, we'll have a better Belize.
Yeah.
So that's what we're working towards. There'll be a lot of activities. It's a fun-filled family day.
We have a lot of stuff for adults and for your kids. You know, you could a little something for everybody. Some of the events we're having a hot wings eating competition. Whoever eats 15 wings the quickest gets, you know, a prize. We have a taekwondo show by the recruits. We'll be having a dog show. We're also having a boxing match, amateurs and also armed forces. So BDF versus Coast Guard. We have 6 matches, so we're looking forward to that. Sports, so like football, And then there's also going to be a bikers event, so we're hoping to get a lot of people for that. We'll be giving out prizes for best burnout, best customized bike, and loudest muffler. So we have a lot for the day.
Okay, that is gonna be quite an attention grabber, just the sounds alone.
So
Definitely.
also
Yeah.
during the day we have, everybody's used to the greasy pole, right? But this year we have a greasy ramp. So it's on a 45-degree angle. It's a bit long. The person who could run up that ramp, get to the top, there's a big package waiting up there for you. So you can imagine the excitement and the laughter.
And
that
that's
will be going
open
on.
to people who attend the event.
Yeah, and
You
if
sign up?
anybody, yeah.
Anybody could sign up.
How
So
steep is this ramp? Let me see.
it's on a 45-degree angle and it's plywood and a half.
And we still have the greasy pole, so there's both. You could try either one. And there's stuff for the kids too. We're gonna have.
We're gonna go back to the traditional stuff, the lime and spoon, the sock races for the kids, you know. We want the kids to come out and have some fun.
Bouncy house, trampoline. Ozzy will be Ozzy the clown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be
So
around.
face painting. So a little bit of something for everybody.
The
It's a
tumblers
family
will be
day.
there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and a part of it is really being able to let the family members of the soldiers kind of get some exposure to what you do and also have some fun, right?
Yes.
So what kind of displays will be happening?
We have the Taekwondo display. We have the cadets from Mile 21, Belize Youth Challenge Program. They'll be coming out. They'll be displaying their marching skills. They've been practicing very hard and they're excited about coming out there Saturday.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm quite excited about is this Hot Wings Challenge. I want to see who's going to...
It has to be hot wings, right?
Yeah.
Because 15 isn't that many.
but it's very spicy. It's very hot.
Are
Okay.
you going to be taking part in the competition itself?
He's MC.
I'll be hosting. I'll be up front.
Okay, good.
And of course, you know, previews of coming attraction by the ECNA drummers.
Yeah.
And if we go to entertainment during the day, all the entertainment we have Punta Queen, we have Jason Ramos, we have the X Band performing that day also. And one of the competition is that you learn your favorite X Band song, you come up and you sing alongside the band, and you can win something.
Okay. So that's great for the fans especially because now they get to show how much they know and follow the songs.
Correct, correct.
And usually you move from the fair into your dance, right?
Well, when we transition, we have to remember just before we transition, there's the big ticket giveaway. This year, we're raffling a LAN. It's 120 feet by 90 feet in the Oak Ridge area through Boom Road, and it's only $2 a ticket.
Okay.
Imagine you win a property for $2.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who want to take part in that.
Correct. Second place is an island giveaway.
Yeah.
For one. Third place, another island giveaway for two. Fourth place is $1,500 cash on the spot.
With just a $2
For
ticket.
$2.
So we were able to get a lot of like vacation packages for 2 or for 4. And all the proceeds from the raffle and from BDF, they go towards our welfare fund, which is basically for scholarships for the soldiers and their families. So that's why we want everybody to support because it's for a really good cause.
I mean, you guys have described a whole range of different activities.
Yeah.
And you know, being on the committee for the day, can you talk to us a little bit about how it was organizing such a big event?
Well, it's been a couple months. Initially, we started out with getting the donations for the raffle because that's kind of how we're funding BDF Day. So we started with going to all the businesses and getting donations for the raffle and so that we could help support the welfare fund. And it's been a lot of, like, it's 3 of us here, but the committee is huge. It's a lot of different
There's
moving
a lot
parts.
of people behind the scenes.
Security and like someone organizing the grounds. Like it's been a lot.
Selling boots, making
Yeah.
sure we get the entertainers. You know, there's so much going on. The wheel have to spin. It's not just the 3 of us, but there's a lot of people working to make this event a success. So following the big ticket item and giving away the raffle, we have ECNA drummers who will be there, and they'll be performing last during the day, and they will walk us over to the
dance.
night activity where the dance is going to happen Eurome style. So the drummers will be going, singing, everybody behind them, jumping up. And then we go over to where the night entertainment is going to happen. And at night we have...
In the same compound?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We have the X-Band, we have Top Rick, we have Reckless. And you know when Reckless hit the stage, it's on.
That's a whole lot of partying that's gonna happen.
And it's only $15 for a ticket in advance and $20 at the door.
Yeah.
But we also have Alfred Mr. Hype Paul, and we have Frisco, the one-man army. So imagine you get all that for $15.
Yeah.
Giveaways all night.
Now, I want to come back to some of the events, but we got to talk, because this is BDF Day, but we have the Belize Police Department here as well.
Yes.
So I know you're a very intelligent man. You didn't get lost. So tell us about your role in helping your fellow armed force.
Well, I feel honored. The police department, the KNIU, just feel honored to be part of the BDF Day. This is we have been part of the BDF Day for a long while. Yeah. But this year the second year we are more engaged in the event because of our dog show. We'll be doing a dog display, of course, showing off our K9 capabilities. Yeah. We have soldiers that is attached to the K9 unit. Okay. That there are soldiers, and one of them is my best dog handler. So we'll be showcasing him on that particular day. Yeah. The dog show is something near to me. This is probably my 15th dog show. Wow. What I like about the BDF, that they want everybody they are touching everybody. Yeah. Dog lovers who love dogs, they can come out. We'll be having a booth out there if you want to know some type of tips, safety, or whatever about your dog. We'll be there to take some of your questions. We might not be able to help you train the dog that day, right? Time consuming, but we are there to give advice and so forth. The dog show, what I like, what the BDF did, like they have tweaked it. We had like something like 8 events, and we have tweaked it probably about 4. Okay. We have the best pot liquor show. So
the best pot liquor, I love that. Yeah.
So the best pot liquor, like if you got really pot liquor, you want to dress up and bring out. We have 3 wonderful judges. We have a police instructor, a person from the Humane Society, and we have the vet to test the health of the dog, the attitude, if it does. How he prongs and how he walks around, and we are looking for all these areas, right? Then we have smallest dog, big dog. When we say smallest dog, we know you bring a puppy. You have to bring an adult dog.
It has to be full grown.
At least a year old.
At least a year old. And so we're going to look at that, and then we're going to have what we have, the dog with the best tricks.
Best tricks.
So if you can throw a frisbee in the air, your dog goes out and say, hey, you got to tell the judge, who cares?
What kind of tricks you've seen over the years?
The best trick I have seen over the years is the guy throw up like 2 frisbee, and the dog gets 2 of them in the air.
Wow.
I don't know how that happened, but I guess that's the dog talent.
They recruit him into the K9 unit.
Yes, and he bites it, and then he goes and he let go that next one, and before the next one drop, he gets the other frisbee.
Oh my gosh.
From my training experience, it was a time.
Okay.
It was a time, like he choked one, and then he let the dog bite, and then while that one up, he chose the next one, and I could have navigated what he did, right? The BDF is beautiful because for me, in the World War II, dogs has always been a part of the military to escort prisoners to their holding area. And so seeing them cooperating the canine or the animals is also a part of their DNA. Yeah. So I'm excited. We're asking for good behavior dogs. So if your dog comes to the dog show and your dog will bite up everybody, you know what? Not today, not that day, right? So we'll ask that your dog is being well behaved. This show starts at 3 o'clock.
The K9 unit will be doing a demonstration too?
Yes, so we'll be out there. We'll be doing a demonstration. It starts at 3 o'clock. We ask people to come out like 2:30 in the afternoon, 2:30 p.m. So to register. We have a sponsor. So our sponsor is
Reimers and Racinos.
The BDF, of course, they are giving a prize. I said to them, just with the award the dog, but how we now award the handler too. Right? So we're asking people.
The dog did work, you know.
We're asking people if they are bringing out the dogs, don't bring out a small child. Yeah. I have seen in the past experience some people bring some big dog and then it's a minor and then they can't take control and so forth. But we will having a little arena. It will be well manned. We're thinking about safety because we don't want a dog to get loose and bite this one, bite that one, and you know. So we think of that. And the main event for the dog show is the best of the best.
The best of the best.
So the winners from each of those categories get to go in one showdown and they get the biggest prize, the biggest whatever.
Bet your best pot liquor win.
Well, I believe the judge had their heads are going to be hot, and we believe that if we have a tie, we'll get it wrong. I am there, so
Yeah.
you know, but it's the best thing for
So the categories once again: smallest dog,
largest dog, dog with the best trick,
dog with the best
and
trick,
pot liquor.
best pot
And then
liquor.
in the intermission,
So there's no best dressed?
well, if in a pot liquor you want to do more things with that, so forth, the judges we're going to look at that.
Whatever makes them stand
whatever
out.
makes them stand out.
Yeah.
But in the middle of that, I think one of the sponsors said like he wants to bring out one of his best dog food, and he's going to put it in a bowl. So in the intermission, if someone who think that their dog could eat the food first, or could eat it all finished first, is going to get a prize. So we're going to put
So they will also have a dog eating.
dog eating.
Okay. No man, people starve their dogs, you see?
and what I also like about it, not to take away from these guys, they have a lot more they want to say also,
Yeah.
is that when people come with their dogs, right, it is opportunity for me as a master canine to see what are they doing. Are there any dog cruelty around the areas? The dog are well cared. It is a networking, having a vet to tell them, okay, you could start treat the dog. So it's a family affair. We have a designated area when they come to, if they want to put their dog. We don't want the dog to be out there all day in the sun, so we have a little shaded area where they can go and put their dog and so forth. Well relaxed.
I'm sure that's a big attraction for people too.
Yes.
Yeah. You have dogs and people flock to it.
It was a hit last year.
Yeah. Okay. So get your pot liquor ready for the competition, right? Only in Belize. So we have a kids zone. We have sports taking place. What I have not heard. Tell me about these drills. What are we going to see happening from the BDF?
Well, we have the drill display, of course, but we have the cadets from Mile 21 doing that this year.
Okay.
From the BDF, we have the mock battle and
that's a big attraction, right?
search and
What
rescue.
time is that?
The mock battle is at 2 o'clock,
Okay.
just before the dog show.
Okay. They're putting back-to-back events.
But I'm going to go through the list of events.
All
So
right,
we
tell
open the
us.
gates at 8 in the morning. We start with kids event, eating competition, drinking of sodas and all that stuff for the kids. We go into arm wrestling, tug and war, and then we have some stage performances, followed by the canine display, the bike show with the loudest bikes, the search and rescue, the drill display by the cadets at BYC, tumblers, more stage entertainment. We have the mock battle and taekwondo. We have the boxing match, of course. We have the dog show, and then later on the big raffle.
Yeah. All right, your mock battle also includes the skydiving?
No, not this year.
Not this year?
Not this year.
Oh, and the kids look forward to that parachuting.
But you don't have to worry about being hungry. These guys set up the best food courts.
We have a food
They
court.
They have a lot of food.
A lot of
booths.
food. Anything that you think that you can think about, it's going to be there, right?
Okay. Now, the key thing is it takes place at Price Barracks. You do have drinks on sale, and one of the things you've done to help people stay responsible is you've offered free transportation,
Free
right?
transportation.
Tell us
So,
about that.
Transportation every hour on the hour. There's a bus coming to and from. It's going to stop at Palori. It's going to stop at Pong Yard, back to Palori, and then it's going to take you up.
Okay.
And the last one leaves at 2 a.m. I think from
After the-
Price Parks after the dance.
After
So,
the dance.
so you could come anytime.
They're going to make an announcement. Bus leaving at so and so.
And then
Because
everybody runs
these
to the
guys
bus?
You got to remember these guys are strict. And if they say get on the bus at 2 o'clock, they're going to clear the compound. You're not going to stay there, right? So,
And the bus will leave you. You're not going to believe them.
And I like what they are doing because you can go from about 9 o'clock and stay till about 3. And you could go home, be a change, recover, and come back.
Catch your bus
again and go to the.
And it's free.
And it's free.
The bus
Yeah,
It's
the
the
bus is
BDF
free.
bus, so
Yes,
we
ma'am.
know what we're
It's
looking
gonna be
to look
labeled.
for.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be labeled. The drivers are, special shirts and everything. So you'll know what you're getting into.
Okay. All right. So what else would you say to people about why they should come out on Saturday?
For me, from the canine, from looking at it, is you're giving back to your military.
Yeah.
Your military, all the funds, all the money that you spend, whatever that you do that day, it goes back into these people welfare to help their soldiers. And so it is important that our country rally, because I think this is the only event that they really have something to help them, or to help the military in a whole. So for me, that's a wow. Everybody, probably some people might like food, some people might want to say the bike, everybody has it, but for me it's supporting them so that they can, you know.
Yeah, and to add to that, I just think we encourage everyone to come out because there's a bit of something for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's for a really good cause. So you know that your money is going to education and welfare on a whole. So I just want to emphasize that to people.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's going to be a fun-filled family day. You're going to be entertained. Bring the family out. If you can dress your kids up in camouflage, we're going to have a booth there that they could take pictures with the soldiers.
Oh.
So come out. Let's have some fun. Of course, we're going to have the kids' entertainment. We're going to do it old school style, the lime and spoon, the sack race. Somebody said, but flour I get on my foot. We have lotion for that.
we still have the train.
The bob train is there, so the kids could take a tour around the compound.
Yeah.
You know.
Rain or shine.
All right.
Yeah.
Starts at 8:30, you said?
8 in the morning.
8 in the morning. The first bus leaves at 8?
The first bus leaves at 8.
Maybe we could mention what's the price at the gate so people could...
Oh, it's $2 to get in.
$2. $1 for kids.
And $1 for the kids.
Okay.
We're going to have a lot of booths out there with food. We're going to have a booth that's everything coconut. We want to make sure that Belizeans stick to Belizean style. Check out the coconut booth.
And the people need to know where they can purchase the raffle tickets.
Every member of the force have tickets, or you could go to any outlet and you could get tickets. Remember the grand prize, $2, and you can win
your
a
lot.
land.
Yes, that's right. That's the start you need to get that house going as well. And you also have a lot of other prizes that people will win.
Giveaways all day, all day.
The actual K9 event is at 3.
Yes, ma'am.
You have the closing off of the fair, and then you walk over, you dance over, sorry, or you punta over. Which one?
Yoruma style.
Which one? We are punta over, paranda over. Tell me. And you move into the big dance. The dance is a different cost at that point.
Yes.
It's $15, right?
In advance for tickets, and then $20 at the door.
Okay.
But even so, you get $100, $200 of entertainment.
That's right.
We just want to also add safety and security.
Yeah.
That we're going to have a lot of security out there, police be there working together. We want people to know that they don't need to rush. We want them to be safe. As they enter the area, they'll be seeing soldiers directing them where to go. Yeah. Please be humble and work with these guys, because we want everybody to go in and to be safe. All right.
Well, thank you very much, and we wish you the best of luck. And here to just tease you a bit more, we're going to close off with a performance by the Iseni Band. And take it away, guys. And if you want to see them live, catch them at BDF Day on Saturday.
Iseni. BDF Day this Saturday.
Magide rogo,
Agosa no laska.
yo na magide rogo,
Agosa no laska.
yo na magide rogo,
Agosa no laska.
yo na magide rogo. Ay, no laska. Agay sa kontan,
Aguyo.
agay sa kontan ma.
Aguyo.
Ako sa kontan,
Aguyo.
agay sa kontan.
Aguyo.
Ay.
Asa ulibanie.
Kontan ma.
Asa ulibanie.
Kontan ma.
Anie gayo ye.
Adiye one baniye.
Anie mesu ye.
Adiye one baniye.
Anie ganaru ye.
Adiye one baniye.
Anie oli ye.
Adiye one baniye.
Agie oli banie.
Adiye one baniye.
Agie oli banie.
Adiye one baniye.
Agie oli banie.
Adiye one baniye.
Agie gayo ye.
Adiye one baniye.
Anie mesu ye.
Adiye one baniye.
Anie ganaru ye.
Adiye
Mikotani, Lanare 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 Mikotani. He's saying the drummers, BDF Day, this 1st of February. Aniye kayo ye, aniye one maniye, aniye mesu ye, aniye one maniye, aniye ganaru ye.
With over 100 years of service excellence in Belize, the
And we're back.
Yes.
Did you get in a quick punta just now?
Yeah, as much as best as I can from that. I get it in, but I definitely enjoyed the performance though.
Absolutely. And we want to thank Iseni Ban for coming out and just showing us a bit of what you can expect at this year's BDF Day. We want to thank the Ministry of Health for updating us on what we are doing here and how we're paying attention to the new strain of coronavirus. And also, do remember to show your support. You go to BDF Day on Saturday, make sure you check out Dara's tribute to Bob Marley.
Yeah, that's coming up this Sunday at Bird's Isle. It's going to be in support of a great cause, of course. His feeding program helps to feed over 50 children here in the city. And of course, the event itself is going to be great, a lot of entertainment, great reggae vibes, and you won't miss the Super Bowl if you go.
No, right. And we also want to remind you the BDF Day, the family event, takes place on Saturday. There are free buses that will take you up to Price Barracks and bring you back down. They leave every hour from Pound Yard, and they stop at Paloti as well. So it's free transportation, and there's just a whole lot of activities happening up there that you can take part in. Right?
Yeah.
That's all the time we have, though. So remember, if you want to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. Drop me a line at Marlene OYE at channel5belize.com, and find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ.
And on Instagram at OIE Belize.
And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.